Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax while we talk about what's happening up in the stars above for the week ahead. And welcome to March, everybody. Today's a first show of March, and it's always fun to enter into a new month and all of its possibilities. And of course, we talked on last Wednesday and Friday about some of the things that were happening for the month of March, number one of which was Venus turning retrograde on Saturday. And it was, a sort of busy day. And I noticed the change. And this week is the quietest of the March weeks, I believe. But not so here in the Pacific Northwest this morning, as we were treated to a 4.5 earthquake just off the coast, off my island, like 13 miles between my island and what is called Orcas Island. And I didn't feel it. I can't, it was at 5:02 this morning. But what happened is Terry and I both have this app on our phones called My Shake. And that's because we do live in earthquake country. And My Shake will, tell you, alert you when an earthquake is happening. And I heard the alarms. I woke up to the alarms and I heard this woman's voice saying, drop and cover or something, whatever she was saying. And I was like, what is that? Because I didn't feel any shaking, but okay, whatever. Terry didn't feel it either, and my cat was up on her cat tree just sleeping. So no big deal here, I guess. But people all around the area felt the earthquake, and it's an interesting occurrence given the astrology right now. And of course, I didn't have time this morning to go looking up Washington states, dates and charts and things like that. So I will. Yeah, I may look at that in a while. But what I did find interesting, because I like patterns, right? Astrology is about rhythms and patterns and cycles of things. And I noticed in the app when I looked at it that this earthquake was like on a diagonal south of one that happened in Canada just on the 21st, I think it was, of February. And then as I went out and saw the bigger picture, I saw also a series of 3.9, 3.8 earthquakes going up the coast of California, almost on that same diagonal. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know, you know, what the dynamic might be between them, but isn't that interesting? Because the pattern is there. I'm not making that up. It's definitely there. I just don't know what it means. And there is a guy that is on YouTube, and he talks a lot about earthquakes, and he's usually pretty good at it. So hopefully he does a broadcast soon, and I can tap in and see what was going on. But at any rate, as I looked at the astrological signature of what's happening now and seeing if it could relate somewhat to what occurred here, and of course, what might be occurring in other places as well, I realized that on Friday, we didn't get to talk about two major aspect patterns that happened on Sunday, yesterday, one of which was Mercury conjunct Neptune, which is in its final degree of Pisces, and Mercury in its final degree of Pisces. So we had a Mercury conjunct Neptune. And Mercury being the messenger planet, conjunct Neptune, the lord of the seas, right? And the lord of earthquakes and earth shaking. It's kind of interesting, don't you think? So with Mercury conjunct Neptune yesterday, there was illusions, disillusions, dissolution, subtle shifts in perception and things like that that were a part of our experience for that day. And of course, heightened sensitivity to Earth's energetic field. And what I was feeling yesterday was what we call earthquake weather. What we called earthquake weather anyway when I was growing up in California. And that is characterized by usually kind of a sultry feeling, cooler up here than it would have been down there, but total stillness. Um, even our cat yesterday was acting a little odd, but certainly not this morning. But Neptune governs water, and the earthquake was in the water. It was in the water between my island and Orcas Island. And it is also considered the deep subconscious or unconscious mind, subconscious mind, I guess more appropriately, and the unseen realm. And Mercury here can act as an activator and stirring up the movement in the unseen realm, sort of like an underwater current, if you will. And 29 Pisces is an anaretic degree, and it often signals endings, culmination, or something being pushed to a threshold, a doorway, a portal way, a gateway kind of energy. And of course, we know Neptune is about to change signs into Aries. And as of 4:02 a.m. East Coast time this morning, Mercury moved into Aries as well. So the earthquake happened, technically speaking, because that would have been 102 or 104 on my coast. So the earthquake technically happened when Mercury moved into Aries. That to me is kind of interesting too. And the conjunction of Mercury and Neptune, albeit a minor earthquake in the grand scheme of things, this conjunction could have activated seismic energy. So I was looking at that, and it was probably energy that had already been building beneath the surface, maybe due to another earthquake that happened earlier, putting the pressure, moving the pressure on down. So, yay, right? We have that. It was only a 4.5. So, by all means, no damage. I mean, I didn't notice anything out of whack here at all. Um, but there was also the sun in Pisces yesterday in a square to Jupiter in Gemini. And then we have expansion and we have exaggeration. We have an amplifying effect, right? The square is a challenge that amplifies the effect of the sun in Pisces and, of course, Jupiter in Gemini. And Jupiter's expansive influence here could have magnified the intensity of Mercury and Neptune's subtle movements together, right? Those things happening in tandem on the same day. And the sun in Pisces is also tied to the oceans and to hidden forces and to the collective unconsciousness. While Jupiter in Gemini could have amplified maybe the instability in the Earth's crust, or amplified maybe sudden shifts that would happen, or were about to happen. And I don't know if you all know this, but living here, we are very aware that there is a subduction zone just off the coast, the literal coast where the ocean is, not where Puget Sound is. And if that subduction zone goes, that's like what happened in Japan, right? The Fukushima, the whole Tohoku, I think was the name of the earthquake itself. So we're very uber aware of that. Was this a signal of things to come? I don't know, but all I can say is if you're living along the West Coast, be prepared because we never know when that is going to happen. And is there an earthquake connection then with Jupiter and the Sun and Mercury and Neptune? Well, it could represent a tectonic buildup and then release, right? Energetically, that's what it is in terms of the planets involved. And Jupiter square to the Sun could have been the trigger, pushing energy outward, right? The outward and making something hidden, Neptune, made manifest, right? In our face, we see it. And Pisces, of course, tied to water, shifting tides, shifting tectonic plates, which literally are land that is floating on magma, which is liquid. I mean, I don't know if everybody realizes that, but we're always floating sort of on the Earth's crust is floating on a layer of magma that is liquid, but hot liquid, Aries liquid. Ooh, there we go, right? So it was kind of maybe a perfect storm. It was a mild one, if indeed it was related to some of the astrological signatures. But I'm going to be watching to see what happens, what unfolds here as Mercury moves on into Aries and then retrogrades in Aries later on this month, right? The 14th. So Mercury exactly entered Aries at 1:04 a.m. PT, Pacific time. So that would have been 4:04 a.m. for those of you that live on the East Coast. And if we break down the timing with Mercury conjunct Neptune at 29 Pisces, we have this setup for dissolution, or we have a setup for fluidity, right? Fluid, hidden forces moving up from from below the surface onto the surface. And of course, Pisces and Neptune both govern the oceans and layers, the deeper layers of the earth as well. And, as you go further into the earth until you get to the iron core, or what is presumed an iron core, there's a lot of liquid, right? A lot of flowing liquid. And it also brings up, things from our unconscious awareness. So, what is being brought up for us at this point? And earthquakes often involve a stored up or a release of stored up or pent up energy. And it might be something hidden just moving beneath our perception that busts out and causes us to become awake. So, here we go. So, energetically, the transition from Mercury, water in Pisces, to fire in Aries, it's always dynamic, no matter what planet it is that crosses over. And here's another interesting thought that zero Aries point is called a world point. And yea, though we had a minor earthquake here, does it tell us that something more is shattering, earthquaking going on as then, say, Neptune, who crosses that threshold March 30th, and Saturn, who crosses that threshold in May? Something else earth shaking happening in our near future. So the shift of any planet across and of course Venus is shifted across that as well just 10 degrees ago when she came in, so that would have been in February. So as planets cross that world point, it's an impactful place. It is the most dynamic point. And the sun, of course, crosses that 0 degrees world point on March 20th. We know it as the spring equinox, but that astrologically it's the zero Aries point, which is the beginning of a whole dynamic cycle. So, hold on. Things may get a little weirder, a little more shakeable, a little more shaking over the next few months. Not to be afraid, not to be scared, just get ready, right? Be ready for whatever it is that becomes the shake. If it's the earth, if it's something in your community, if it's something we can't even think of that has a relation to fire, right? Because you're moving out of the relatively deep waters of Pisces, right? Pisces rules the oceans. That's the deeper water. It takes longer for us to move that energy when planets are moving through Pisces. But then as it explodes into Aries, right, it becomes dynamic very quickly. So that can, lead to all kinds of catalyst type energy that's just ready and waiting to explode or to move forward, push outward, as it were. And Mercury's entrance into Aries maybe was the final spark that triggered this particular earthquake, or maybe it's the tell of what is yet to come, right? We don't know. So, as well, Mercury is in the shadow of his next retrograde, which begins March 14th and at 9 degrees of Aries. And maybe there's just a reverberation that we're feeling, as above, so below. So Mercury shaking up the universe above and shaking up the earth below as well. And maybe it's not just aftershocks that we might consider happening. It might be themes of some sort of sudden revelation or some sudden shift in consciousness or unexpected events emerging over the next few days. So we also have to watch out because as we go forward this week on March 5th, which is, oh, I got to turn my calendar, March 5th, which is Wednesday, Mercury comes into a sextile with Pluto. And that could bring deeper awareness of what's been stirred up energetically. And yeah, okay, it happened here on my coast in my awareness, but what is shaking up in your area, in your awareness, in your life? So it's an interesting thing to think of. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that here in just a few minutes. Let's say good morning to people who are showing up here. I saw Terry, good morning. And Treat Yourself, Julie says good morning. And then there was Diana. She says good morning. She had a great meditation this morning. Gayla Seeger, good morning to you. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel. Everybody send some prayers out to Debbie's dog, Oracle. He's having some liver issues, so we want him to be healthy, and let's just see him all healed from his issues that he's having. Christine Buckingham, good morning. Asa, glad to see you with us this morning. Christine, glad it didn't impact you. Me too. I hate earthquakes. I mean, to me, they are like the most destabilizing thing that can happen in a life. Growing up, I felt many of them and never, ever thought they were exciting. Just not me. So I'm really glad since I've lived in Washington, we had a 6.5 8 earthquake. I didn't feel that one either. So I'm being protected from being so unstable, right? J-Lo, happy Monday to you as well. Ace 3-3 portal, right? There is the 3-3 uh energy. I don't go much with those kinds of things, but double numbers do tend to create double numbers, triple numbers, quadruple numbers. They tend to amplify energies. J-Lo, the ley lines. Yeah, I really do wanna research that a little more because, most scientists would just go, "Yeah, it's just a coincidence," but, I don't go that way. I think of coincidences as signposts along the way, right? So if I'm seeing earthquakes lining up across, even if they're minor, they were just minor 3.9s that were up the coast of California from SoCal all the way up to just off the coast of Northern California and pretty much in a diagonal. And these two that, the Canadian one and ours also starting to form a diagonal. If the pattern holds, I would expect to see one south of us on that diagonal, putting it closer to, say, the end of the Puget Sound area, maybe around Olympia or something like that. We'll see what happens, right? I just love to tap into patterns. And if you have gate 44 activated in your human design, likely you like to tap into patterns as well because it's called the gate of patterns. We notice these things. TD Hawk, good morning to you. And she said she was feeling deep off yesterday. Yeah, it was a weird day. Tom, good morning. Whoop de doo. Joan Durchie, good morning. Natasha, good morning. She said, personally, she had an earthquake that brought out moments in her life that she thought she dealt with, yet more was swept under the rug than I thought. That's the sign of the times, and you're on the right path, Natasha, because it is time for us to bring out the hidden and heal it. Let it go for once and for all. Treat yourself says blessings. Let's not forget to hit that like button. Thank you very much. Thumbs up, heart, like, subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, which is Living Astrology. And March 5th is her birthday. It is also the first birthday of my sister who departed this year. So it'll be kind of bittersweet for me too that day. But happy birthday to you, Julie. Time for a birthday reading, maybe. Amy D, good morning. And Christine sending blessings to Oracle, or Ori, as Debbie often calls him. And good morning, Jana. Good to have you with us. All right, so let's dive into some human design. I do spend quite a bit of time, talking about astrology, and yet human design to me is just as important, and maybe even sometimes a little more, maybe a little easier to understand. There are not as many moving parts, let's say. So let's talk about this. I'm going to share my screen and present a chart. Hold on 1 minute while I get that up. And it is, there we go, share. Okay, so let me go back to StreamYard and make sure you're seeing what I want you to see. Indeed, you are. Okay, so when we were talking about Venus turning retrograde, we often will look at the degree that a planet changes signs at, or when a degree that a planet will turn retrograde upon. And that degree has, in astrology, has some encoded, if you will, information in it. And the same happens in human design, right? When a planet is changing from one direction to another or changing signs, it has a signature gate that it is occurring at. And for Venus, at this moment, when she turned retrograde, she was in the gate 21. And that's called the gate of control. In some ways, this is also called the gate of the hunter or the huntress. It is a gate that is about control and sovereignty as in being your own person. So this particular energy is sitting on the will or the identity center in the chart. And this right here is called the ego center, the heart center, or the will center. But I do like to think of it as the heart center, right? This is where the soul resides, in the identity center. And just next to that is the heart, right? The place of real energy for, willpower, or for mastery over your own will, and control over your own life. That's really literally what this center is about. But it's also mastery over resources. For example, time, your energy, money. So it has a lot of economic kind of interest in it, as well as personal economy, which we could also call personal sovereignty, right? So it has all of this. And this gate is activated by Venus now sitting in retrograde for the next several days. And of course, once she goes back to forward motion, she'll move back across this gate once more. And you'll have another opportunity to deal with the energy of this gate. Now, this gate is about managing, directing, and asserting authority over material resources, even your idea of stability, right? Stability. How funny is that? With earthquakes, happening all across the West. And it's deeply tied to power dynamics and who has control and how are you being controlled, and all of the issues around control that we could think of, whether we are overly controlling of someone else in our lives, overly controlling of our own selves, or being controlled by others around us, or being controlled by situations that you felt like you have no control over. But in the end, what you discover is you have that power, right? It's in your hands. And the fact is, Venus and Mercury retrograde will both be in this gate and moving into this energy with, their particular focus. So Venus retrograde at the gate 21 governs love and values, and literally money, and our relationships. So the retrograde here challenges our sense of control in our lives in general, in our finances, in our relationships, and also in our self worth. And the gate 21 here leads to the throat center. Some of you might have gate 45 defined in your throat, and this is definitely a call for you to look at your resources, especially money. This is called the money line, often in human design. You might also feel a tug of war between letting go and holding on, especially in areas that are about your security or your independence, or where you are sharing resources with others. Right, the retrograde Venus here really sees who is in control of the resources, and is that being appropriately managed. Right, management is another way that we could look at this. And then Mercury retrograde, when he moves through this gate, this is now going to be about communication and your thoughts and your contracts and technology and how you use your mind, the thinking processes. And the retrograde in this gate can bring power struggles into conversations. And I thought misunderstandings about financial agreements, or reassessing how much control is really needed. Like, are you overly dominated or dominating in your thoughts or in your life about this situation? And isn't it interesting, the whole debacle in the White House on Friday, I believe it was, between JD Vance, Trump, and Zelensky from the Ukraine, how that was a power struggle that erupted in a conversation as Venus was also in this gate on Friday. So with Mercury being added to this mix, it can bring power struggles into government and into the whole financial agreements that we have with other people. And, if impacting the economy as well, because this is real. Oh, I'm so annoyed, because this is really about, excuse me, how we manage our resources, which, as far as the economy is concerned, is about money, how money flows. But also, did you notice over the weekend how cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, tanked? And then another one, sort of along the lines of Bitcoin, XRP, rose. And then in response, Bitcoin rose. And I think there's some volatility along with our two inner planets sitting in such money positions in the human design. So it's time to rethink our strategies around money and investments. It is time to rework our contracts and agreements, whether they're written contracts or they're verbal agreements. It is definitely time for us to rework that energy. And then the strategies that we have for uh, working through those agreements that we have made, and reflect on your personal authority, and do that before making any big decisions about, releasing control over something, or letting somebody control your resources, because it's a huge time for us to become more accountable to our own selves. This energy in quantum human design is about realignment, right? So the gate 21, we could say, is about realignment, and how it is that we, want to live in this world, and how we want to make shifts in our finances. It is also about control versus trust. There's a piece of this that really speaks to where we're trying to hold on to the reins so tightly that we sort of need to relax in all of this, and we need to be able to just let go and move forward. There are also financial and material shifts that we may experience here in our possessions, in our financial agreements on, where we've signed on the bottom line. Ask the question, what needs restructuring in your financial life? Is there a budget that needs to be made if you've not made one? Is there a budget that needs to be realigned if you have one? And also power in your relationships. Are there unspoken power struggles that are going on in your personal or your professional life? If so, it's time to work through those. It's a double call, if you will, both Venus and Mercury doing this, to reassess control, that theme of control in your life. Reassess sovereignty, your own personal power, if you will, and also trust, especially when you're looking at, do I trust myself, or do I need to have less control in my life? And especially as it relates to money and values, relationships, communication, transportation is also thrown in there. So if you're um, taking a trip or something, for example, be very aware with Mercury retrograde, particularly about how this may impact that travel that you might have already kind of planned, but still to be seen as how the retrograde will impact your travels at this time. So I also will do the same, by the way, when Mercury and Venus turn direct, because they'll turn direct. I believe it's at the gate 36, which is crisis, right? Turbulence, but also experience and adventure. So it'll be interesting to see how the switch from retrograde to forward motion will impact us later in the month of April. So coming up next month. Now, I also wanted to look at the human design for the month of March. When Tam and I did our broadcast on Wednesday, I didn't really get to talk about human design much because March was so busy with so many aspects that we needed to talk about. I'm not going to run them all down. I'm just going to be able to, I'll just bring this out week by week for you. It's just so much, right? There's 5 weeks in March, human design weeks. And so that would be a lot for us to talk about in this morning's show. But the theme of this week from March 2nd, so starting yesterday through the 6th, is about navigating uncertainty. And there's doubt and confusion in the gates. The gate 63 is where the sun is. That is called the gate of doubt. And the gate 64, which is called the gate of confusion. And they act as catalysts for clarity for us. So the head center, you notice the head center is in the body. You can just barely see the outline of the head here. And so part of it is in the head and the other part is up above. So this is a center where we field a lot of incoming energy from the cosmos. Ideas, just intuition, transmissions, energies that are coming from other planets and other constellations and other universes, even, right? It's all coming in through our head center. And with the sun hitting the gate 63 in doubt, right? And this is the mental pressure that we all may be feeling right now. The mental pressure, it's the drive to question everything. That's what the gate 63 is all about. And because this is a pressure center. And as all of this energy comes in, we're pressured to decide what to do with it. It's the what, the who, the why, the how. Can you prove it? Energy that comes in through the head center, which is why we don't make decisions from the head, right? There's too much uh, kind of unclarity in the head center when information comes in. And healthy doubt is a good thing. It could be akin to discernment, being discerning about what you're hearing, about energies that are coming to you or thoughts that are coming to you. And doubt leads to clarity and refinement. But it can also create overthinking and analysis paralysis. So we've got to be very aware of this mental pressure going on from March 2nd to the 6th, along with everything else that's going on, right? Astrologically. Um, in quantum human design, we call the gate 63 the gate of curiosity. And I kind of like that name for this gate because curious people ask questions like, I wonder what that's about. I wonder where that's going. How can I make this better? Or how is this situation going to change? So if we kind of position it in that way, then rather than doubting ourselves, our motivations, or our hearts, what we end up being able to do is be open-minded to what some of this and open-minded and curious about what some of these things that are happening will bring to us. Like, what does it mean? What in the grander scheme of my life, how does this serve me? Right? So trust your inner authority. That's the big news this week, I'm guessing, with the sun here, is rather than seeking external validation, right, outside of you, rather than going there, go within, right? Seek it from within. Now, at the same time, the Earth will be in the gate 64. And the gate 64 in traditional or human design is called the gate of confusion. It is kind of the gate where downloads come in, right? Have you ever had this happen to you where a brilliant idea drops in, plunk, but without the manual that tells you how to take care of it or what to do about it, right? So the 64 is that kind of gate where the grand scheme comes in, but how, when, why, what, who, right? All of that part's missing. So the gate 64 is often a gate where we have abstract thinking, where we have visual processing, even, and storytelling, perhaps, right? As this comes in, it's the sensation of having all the puzzle pieces, but no clear picture. Have you ever tried to work a 1,000-piece puzzle but lost the picture? Right? Don't have the picture of what it is that you're building. That's what 64 can be like. And what it means literally is that you're in a gestation phase because the gate that the 64 meets up with over here is the 47. And that gate is called the gate of mindset, but also it is a place of epiphany, the aha moment. And that's when the 64 downloads find their solution or their answer, or the clarity that emerges after you sit with the uncertainty. So, yeah, this week there's some doubt, there's some confusion, there's definitely uncertainty in the air, if you will. So, the lesson for us this week will be all about resisting confusion and doubt, allowing them to just refine your path, insights kind of emerging on their own organically when it is the right time. All right. So while there can be some craziness going on within your mind, just remember who's thinking the thoughts, right? If you're the one thinking the thoughts, then it's up to you to change the thinking process, right? Or change the feeling that you are having that doesn't support allowing things to unfold naturally. Now, as I looked ahead at March and all the different gates that will be impacted during the month, it is a month possibly of mental breakthroughs, emotional resilience, spiritual trust, and visionary insight. So there's some really good energies in the month of March for us. And we also have two outer planets changing gates this month. Saturn moves into the gate of chaos at gate 36, and Uranus moves into the gate 8, contribution. That both happens later in the month. So there is some evolutionary pressure, but things are shifting and it's all leading us into deeper wisdom and deeper clarity about why we are here. What are we here to do? All right, stop sharing my screen. Let me go back to StreamYard. How are you guys doing out there? Any questions about anything that you're learning about this morning? In the meantime, Jolie Evans says, "Good morning, everyone. Hello, Harmonize. Happy to catch your live today. We're happy to have you with us." And Christine says, "That was an ambush." It was, and it was horrid, and it was so not in keeping with proper behavior, right? Any kind of kindness, generosity, love, compassion. It was terrible. But, did we expect anything less? I mean, there are issues definitely that need to be hammered out, but I don't think you do that by uh, bashing someone. Anyway, that's my personal 2 cents. Peggy Ann, good morning to you. And Harmonize also says it was awful. Yeah, not often, if ever in my life, have I ever seen someone visiting this country treated so badly on camera, right? Maybe behind the scenes words might have been said, but on camera, it felt like it was a stunt and not a happy one. But it is in our astrology right now. You can expect more of this, not just from those two or from, government, but even in your own lives. As more pieces start to move into Aries, there is this just do it kind of energy. And, you know, people saying whatever they want to say, people doing whatever it is they want to do. It has a very maverick feel to the energy, almost anarchy sort of related. And some people will take it to that level, no doubt, right? The anarchists out there are going to be loving all of that Aries energy that's out there. But, as we are moving into this sign of Aries and all that comes with it, it's a call for us also to be more mature and circumspect in how it is we use our energy of movement. How do we use our dynamic energy, and what catalysts do we um, what kind of catalysts for change do we want to use? Do we want to have that kind of awful vitriol going on, or is there a better way, right? Aries energy, immature energy. Not to say that if you're an Aries or where you have Aries in your chart, you're immature. That's not quite. It's just mature energy would think first and then act. Immature energy is the absolute opposite. It's act first and then think later, right? So it is, but it's designed that way. Aries is the first sign. And if we don't take a step, we don't make progress. So we have to just remember that we are likely going to see more of that kind of thing, not just in our country, but around the world, but also in your interpersonal dynamics. Aries is going to have Mercury and Venus in it, and then Neptune moving into it. So we're seeing it both, in the interpersonal and in the collective. So hopefully we can keep it from lighting the match that burns down the world. That's what I hope. We can keep it under some sort of control-ish control. Here we're in the week. We have Venus is at control and things are kind of out of control. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But it's our job, right? Our job as personal individuals to take as much of the high ground as we can, leading others by example, not falling victim or prey to the reverberation of that, right? The rubber band stretches and breaks, and we don't want broken agreements and broken relationships. We would like healthy ones, right? So that's it's maybe one of the trade-offs we have going on right now, that there is this definite stepping out and doing new things, and later we might go, "Oh, maybe that wasn't such a good idea," and we'll have to pull it back some. And that might happen in your personal life or in the bigger, wider world. And of course, Mercury in Aries, that brings me to what's going on with the little messenger planet now in the sign of Aries, crossing the Rubicon, the 0 degrees Aries point, the world point, and bringing a shift in communication and a shift in thought patterns, right? Every time Mercury changes a sign, it changes how we communicate or how we're thinking about things. And with Mercury moving into the gate 25, which is interestingly enough, the gate of spirit, the gate of the love of spirit, the gate of the divine in all of us, is the opening gate for Aries energy. The 0 point lies in gate 25. And while Mercury is already in the shadow of his retrograde, we're setting the stage for possibly some deep spiritual reflections, some shifts in perceptions, right? Sometimes it is that thing that happens that catalyzes a movement or catalyzes a change, a perception. And then that creates a need for us to revisit our relationships. And also our relationship with things like trust and innocence and divine flow. So it's fascinating to stand here and to be able to say, like, I don't like what I saw. I don't like how we treated that person. But underneath it, what is it that's happening, right? What's going on? Because in that is something new. There's a seed in that. I don't know that it's a good seed. I don't know that it's a bad seed, but again, that's going to be kind of driven by us as the individuals and how we respond, right, to that thing. And Aries brings direct, bold, and spontaneous mental energy. And Mercury in Aries brings that. And our thoughts may become more instinctual. We may have more run away with my mouth kind of incidences, where we're impulsive or we're reactive and we say things first and then think later and go, oh God, what did I do? And we may feel an urge, and I think this might have been what happened, an urge to speak our truth more unapologetically, feeling as it were free to just blurp out whatever it is that is in your BB brain, right? Which hasn't been thought through, which hasn't been, you know, calmed down. So we have to be very careful that we don't spark conflicts with our words, especially if we don't handle what it is that we want to say with any kind of awareness, right? So we have to stay aware of our words and the impact of our words. Words have power. And if this is occurring at the very first gate, which is like the opening salvo here, is the gate 25, which is the gate of spirit, and it returns us to innocence and trust. Although I dare say that comes later. Gate 25 is about universal love. It is about surrender. It is about divine trust, trusting in your higher self, trusting in the power of unconditional love. It is a heart opening transit. At least that's its intention as it begins, which flies in the face of some of the things that we're seeing out there in the world, doesn't it? And it asks us to let go of mental rigidity. Got to let go and surrender to sort of the mystery of life. Like, why is all of this happening? To what end? What are we learning about? What's changing? What could be made better? Right? Lots of different thoughts in all of this. And Mercury, specifically at this gate, encourages us to communicate from the heart, to really, take a look at not just communicating from the mind, like the first thought that comes in and, blurping that out there, but to speak with authenticity and with faith rather than fear. And that's a difficult ask for us, but certainly we keep hearing this drumbeat of these planets that are going to move across zero Aries. And as they enter the very last degrees of Pisces and the first degrees of Aries, they're in the gate 25. So all of this must be leading us to some kind of recognition of what is loving and what is not. And what do we want to be? Loving human beings or ugly human beings, right? Ugly to each other. So we're being encouraged to speak from the heart, not just the mind, and to speak with authenticity and with faith rather than fear, right? I can't say that enough. Now, the shadow of Mercury is, we're already in the shadow of the retrograde, have been for about a week. And since we're in the shadow period and this is what we're learning, the themes arising now will also be revisited during the actual retrograde, right? It's like we take it in and now we're going to have to ruminate on it or we're going to think our way through it. And some of the questions that might be coming up for us is, where are we struggling with trust? Are we resisting the unknown or trying to control outcomes? Are we speaking from fear or love? Are we overanalyzing what we should be feeling and experiencing instead? Right? Is it all up here rather than in the heart, or even in the solar plexus? And expect situations involving all of these things to resurface later as we get into the retrograde. And then a resolution, perhaps, or a new pathway laid out for us um, as the retrograde ends. But that, again, won't be until the first week or two of April. So we have some potential collective themes that we are working with. One is spiritual awakening and redefining what faith means. What does faith mean to you? And that might mean conversations about spirituality, about divine timing, about our purpose, your purpose. What's my purpose for being here? And they'll feel more urgent, like this is something we have to get through. um, uh, to Natasha's end, what she was saying is something I've been feeling too. It's like, these last vestiges of BS in my life, like the fears and the wounds and the experiences that, I'm holding on to that have triggered fear within, have to be let go. And I just keep feeling, I keep pounding my way through and processing through all the stuff that keeps coming up. That's what we're here to do. And if I can clear my own field of this, if you can clear your own field of the fear and of the blocks or the limitations or the I can'ts or the I shouldn't or all of those things, then you're clearing the field for those people around you as well. So we can create a momentum of people that are really coming into their own and refusing to live a diminished life or refusing to live in the shadows, right? Coming out. It's a coming out party. But there's also this is about healing old wounds and trust, right? Trust is another big part of the gate 25. And can you surrender without needing proof that that's what you must have or do or be or where you must go? Can you trust the journey, in other words, right? Can you be okay with where life is taking you, even if you don't have all the answers right now? Like, and as I look out at the United States and I see all the stuff that's happening and it makes me sad, it makes me mad, I have to wonder, um, where's the journey leading us, right? Hopefully to a better place, hopefully to a better form of government, to a better, way of working together. But sometimes you got to slog through the old before you can get to the new. And I think that is likely what we are about. And, in a way, you're questioning we are all questioning the assumptions about the universe and our role in it. That's kind of in the bigger picture of all of this. And courageous communication, but with a spiritual edge. Words have powerful, powerful energy during a transit like this. And we're called to speak with integrity, courage, wisdom, rather than reacting out of impatience or ego, right? Like, you know, ego. take a look at the egos involved. And we are preparing for that deeper review during the retrograde season. So pay attention to the insights that are coming up for you, the spiritual lessons you're learning right now, because they will circle back in April when we get to the direct motion of both Venus and Mercury. And Mercury in retrograde in Aries will revisit what trust means in our lives. And where are we out of alignment with divine flow? Because that's where it started, right? With this idea of divine spirituality, of unconditional love. So speak from the heart, not just from the mind. Notice where fear blocks your ability to trust. Where are you out of alignment there? Be open to spiritual messages and synchronicities. Watch the outer world. It's a reflection of what's changing inside, and allow divine timing to unfold instead of trying to force answers to come, right? To force that epiphany or that revelation, allow it, right? So it's a time to lean into trust, for us to release control and listen to the whispers of the universe. And even when Mercury throws some of the curveballs, as he always does during his retrograde, pay attention, right? What is it telling you about your experience? All right. Okay. So speaking your truth, that's another good way to talk about this, but we can speak our truth in a compassionate, loving way. We don't have to barrage people, berate people, or, create harm, right? We don't need to do it that way. All right. So then let's see, Wednesday, March 5th, and this is on your birthday, Julie. So it'll be activated for you, not just that day as it is for most of us, but, as you go on through the year ahead for you. Mercury and Aries will be in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, a sextile is a 60-degree angle between the planets. And literally, it is a harmonizing feature, right? It is harmonizing the energies. They kind of speak the same language, even though they're different in their approaches. They get one another, right? So Mercury in Aries gets Pluto in Aquarius. So let's see if we can break this down. And the theme between the two planets here is going to be about bold truths, but also deep mental transformation. So there's more going on than meets the eye, right? It's not just superficial. Pluto's involved, so it has depth. And the Mercury Pluto sextile brings that blend of sharp perception and fearless communication and deep insight with it. Sextiles are harmonious though. So it's like opportunities arise when we're actually engaging with the energy consciously, when we're looking for the depth, right? When we're looking for the connection, and when we're able to communicate that energy in a way that is supportive. But the transit often will bring up hidden truths. That's the deal with Pluto anyway. The things that are under the rug come out. And conversations that you have with people, or conversations that we hear out in the world, can unearth deeper insights or secrets or subconscious motivations. We might see the handwriting on the wall much clearer than other times, right? There's less tolerance too for surface chatter at that time. So we're really favoring raw honesty and intellectual depth as opposed to just the superficial gab. Um, Mercury sextile Pluto can also bring us a powerful mental focus and strategic thinking, right? Mercury in Aries is fast, it's bold, it's direct. And with Pluto in Aquarius, it's seeking deep transformation through new paradigms. So it wants what's new, right? It's looking for the what could be. And that makes this a great time while Mercury and Pluto are working together for problem solving, right? Breaking through limiting beliefs. If you're holding on to something, great time for that to get let gone or to be gone, and discovering new ways of thinking about yourself, about what's gone on in your life, and about your place in the world, about the world in general. And there are fearless and transformational conversations available, right, for us. Maybe we feel more compelled to speak our truth, even if it's uncomfortable. We say what we need to say without hiding it behind it. Topics around power and a control or transformation or future possibilities may dominate our discussions. And tech, innovation, and the power of words, right? This is a big time. Pluto in Aquarius suggests transformation, especially shifts in technology. So AI and collective movements and things like that. It's interesting because I bet you've noticed. I mean to someday just start writing down all the things I notice that are going on in alignment with this shift of Pluto in Aquarius. Well, I'm sure you've noticed how people are gathering together for purposes like somebody started a movement on Friday, I think it was, or Saturday was don't buy from the big box stores. And it gained traction. And like thousands of people around the country, maybe millions for all I know, honored that movement. Grassroots movements, the people power, it's power to the people. Demonstrations in Vermont along the trail that JD Vance was taking to skiing vacation or something. And people were, in, a way saying, what they needed to say about his behavior in the White House the day earlier. So interesting, right? To watch people start amassing and empowered to say and bring their voices out, their disgust with what they see going on around them, or their support for what they see going on around them. So that's the collective movements part of Pluto in Aquarius. And we could see during, Wednesday and even now, right? They're already close to Mercury today is at 0 degrees of Aries and Pluto is at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So they're already in orb. So this is already happening. If it hasn't already been happening, right? It's like 6 degrees usually that we think of as planets come into contact with one another and then as they pass one another. So news or discussions, excuse me, about societal change, about what is happening in this country, what is happening in this world, what is happening on this continent, etc. Revolutionary ideas, perhaps new ideas, new thinking, and power dynamics, but also especially in communication platforms. So you know what that means, our social media. What's going on with Facebook? What's going on with Twitter or X, whatever the hell it's called these days? And how is that impacting societal change, right? What's going on there? And the whole Mercury retrograde shadow plays into this because Mercury is in that shadow time. And the themes that arise now are going to likely return in April. So all of this power mongering going on between Mercury and Pluto will bring that back to us in April. And that means conversations you have now or insights that you gain now aren't fully resolved yet. So expect them to resurface, maybe with deeper, having been deeply um, processed during the intervening time between, March and April. So speak boldly but responsibly. It's a theme that you'll probably hear more from me in the next coming days and weeks. Lean into curiosity. Ask the deep questions and explore the different possible answers. Be open to transformation. Don't shut things down if it's changing. We need change. Change is what moves us ahead. It's what evolves. Notice the signs of future shifts, maybe hinting, at a collective or personal transformation that's unfolding in your world, in your life. So, March 5th, a day for piercing clarity, right? Powerful thinking, powerful insights, and the beginnings of some major transformation, perhaps. And maybe there it turns out as a transformative conversation that you have with someone. So pay attention to what comes up, and it may be the start of something bigger for you, right? Something that you'll want to take further as time goes on. All right. That is it for me. I am going to pull a card though. Let me take a look at some comments here. Um, Indivisible is a new group, Christine says. I have not heard of that. I just have noticed, though, more of these groups, communities, movements that are happening. And thank goodness Chester's mom says that humanity matters. It does. Some things have come out in TD Hawk's life about her sister. Prayers, please. Been led to put a care package together for her. So we're sending prayers and love energy out there. Asa, that is the only way things change. We have to take it to the streets, right? I think there's a song about that. Um, Chester's mom, a quote I love: "If you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything." Ooh, that's a powerful one. And Christine Buckingham, we can't let an unelected creep destroy our country. I cheers to that. And on, right? Great, great comments. So use your voice, right? Use your voice. That's the key. And live in peace, right? Be in peace. You don't have to fall prey to the just do it energies, right? That and it's building, right? That's just still building where almost anything is possible and even probable that, there will be more um craziness out there. So, this morning my Mayan oracle fell off my pile of decks over here. So I'm thinking, maybe there's some wisdom in the Mayan oracle for us. So let me draw that card. And ooh, TD Hawk, we are getting a singing group together here to sing and protest and building love and care. Ooh, I like that. Um, and we get the shadow called sombra in Espanol. Sombra. That's what the card looks like. Let's see if I can find it here to read to you. Shadow. And I would say that's a oh, oh, hey. Um Bum. Shadow is on page 140. Okay. And it's one of the lenses in this particular deck. So the lenses that we're looking through. Okay. And here's the quality of the card of shadow. It's reaction, resistance, attachment, unfinished business, unexpressed aspects, hidden potential, a journey to wholeness, healing destructive family patterns, and internalized father mother. And it says, profound insights and empowerment await your journey into the smoky mirror of shadow's wisdom. Shadow is simply the unseen faces of light, your unfinished business, your fears, your doubts, the parts of yourself that you normally avoid or hide from. Shadow, the unexpressed, holds the most powerful potentials and important tools for transformation. Shadow gifts you with the vision of how your illusions, your beliefs, judgments, fears, and limitations are the only things that stand between you and the light. Your shadow will offer you signs for growth in everyday life. When you have a charged reaction to any person, situation, or issue, this is a clear signal that a shadow aspect is asking to be seen, owned, and thus transformed. Be direct about sharing what you normally withhold. Fully experience and express your emotions. Honor your relationships by your willingness to address shadows with others. Your reward will be deeper intimacy, love, and acceptance. Working with shadow is an important part of the journey of self into perceiving its wholeness. When you personally heal and integrate your own shadow aspects, you also help to heal the larger pattern of the collective mind field. Mind field, not minefield. Now is the time to heal destructive past family patterns and to work on bringing to awareness unfinished business with both your biological father and mother and the internalized voice of your inner father and inner mother. When you were growing up, you naturally transferred male authority and female nurturance to an outer father and mother figure. Begin the journey of reclamation of male authority and female nurturing of your own inner father mother that only you can offer yourself. Take back the power you gave away growing up to nurture and give yourself permission to be, do, and become all that you are. Wow, that's a powerful message. Powerful, powerful. All right, you guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again on Friday. Bye for now.